Hello. I know it's been a while since I have made a public reading for you too, but was doing some readings today and the cards were just feeling good. And I decided to go ahead and put out just a short collective read. I hope whoever sees this, it finds you well. My intention is just kind of playing today of sitting in my office and the readings are feeling great. I've got my incense going, my candle, got my Freddie Mercury candle going, really just vibing today. So, by the way, a song that keeps coming up for me over and over and over. It's one of my favorites. Under Pressure with Queen and David Bowie. The song itself is good. It's got an interesting backstory too, if you want to look into that. But I recommend that you take a few minutes and play that song and think of me at the 2:54 mark in the song. That stanza of music and the crescendo. I mean, I would recommend putting headphones on, closing your eyes and listen to it because it's one of the most beautiful segments of any song ever. So it's just on my mind right now, and I've been kind of, I have certain playlists, but that's the vibe that I'm feeling today is that song, and that part of it is just so beautiful to me. So I hope that is something fun for you to listen to. I already actually pulled the cards. I didn't shuffle on camera because I'm using today for the short reading, I'm using the Urban Tarot, which has an interesting backstory. In I've been doing tarot now for 20 some years, and since there have been a lot more tarot readers online and things that you can research on the internet, as a reader, I usually have a pretty good read of like the new decks that are coming out and things like that. And I back when this Urban Tarot came out, I read about it and saw pictures of it, and it was sold out of New York, um, in a museum. And the thing about it is I was interested, but then looking at the cards, I'm not sure I ever would have actually purchased the deck because it looked kind of dark and gritty to me. And it is very urban, and the artwork has some hard edges on it. It's not a soft kind of artwork, but it didn't fit the style of reading I typically try to do. My readings are a little more of a psychological nature, and I'm trying to hit the hopeful part of your situation and give you some clarity and like a way out. I'm always looking for how can we see a situation, what would be useful for us to lean into to get out of it? I want the hope and the progress and what your part in a situation is, because so much of life we can't control, right? It's just it we live in a cooperative society, or sometimes not so much of a cooperative society, and we can only control so much. So I usually gear my readings toward you and what can you do on the inside? And I always want to leave you with hope of what can I do to make this situation better? How can I adjust, whether it's your attitude or your actions or whatever? And this Urban Tarot deck, it's just kind of gritty and filthy and it's almost too real. Like, some of the images on it are just too real. And I know I'm not making sense, but there's some stuff that I probably can't say on YouTube, about what it is. And so anyway, I steered clear of the Urban Tarot for a while. And then one Christmas, my sister Amy gifted me that particular deck as a gift. And she thought it was very artsy and cool, and it is. There's some really great images in it. So I was happy that it did come into my existence, but I also took it as almost like a sign that I needed to be working with this deck in some way. So I've had this deck for a long time. It's widely available now, but at the time you really couldn't get it anywhere other than the museum store. So I've had it, and today when I went to do my readings, I opened my cabinet where all my cards are, and that one is the one that really just called out, and which is unusual because it's not a deck I usually default to. It's more of a high interest, but I'm half afraid of it kind of thing, because the last thing you really need in a reading is more reality. It's all pretty harsh out there right now. However, working with it today, I did a little test run, did a reading for myself, and it was really spot on. And it was actually really helpful. So I'm going with it today. We're keeping the reading really short. I'm kind of going for a past, present, future spread, so 3 card spread. Then I have a card for a hidden influence or something about what the foundation is underneath that we may not be able to see all the way, something kind of hidden in the situation that is either propping the situation up or the base of what we're trying to go for, something that we might not be considering. And then one card for advice. So it's super interesting. I hope you find this helpful. If you have any questions or anything, you're welcome to reach out to me. And certainly, I will be getting back to doing readings eventually in a public way. Right now, my life has taken a turn where I've got a lot of new things going, and it's all very personal. And I'm trying to keep it as private as possible until I feel ready to kind of release it into the wild. So I'm super busy and working and trying to navigate the crazy times also. But anyway, I hope you're well. So here we go. Past card, Urban Tarot, is the Eight of Swords. This is what a lot of us could have been dealing with, or what is kind of leading into the current energy. And it makes a lot of sense. This in the normal Rider Waite tarot deck would be the Eight of Swords. It's the girl standing in a circle of swords that are stuck in the ground, and she has a blindfold on, and she's like she doesn't want to see the situation around her. It's a mentally entrapped card. It's mental entrapment is the Eight of Swords. Being stuck in our own head, getting in our own way. In this particular deck, it's incredibly appropriate that all of the swords, there's a couple of things I liked about this card. All the swords are in a box, right? It's in this box thinking. Okay. So it's like we're only thinking of things one way, and that's all that we can see is this one way of thinking. And so the old adage, thinking outside the box is not what's happening or has been happening. However, do you see how messy this is? You have all the chords and you have all the tightness in there, and it's like how many more thoughts can you shove in that box? There's only so much you can do with a certain way of thinking. And and so that's part of the problem from the past. What's leading us into this energy is an outdated way of thinking, a closed off way of thinking, trying to make something work and almost desperation kind of thing. Then the whole other slant to this card being called interference is the media. I mean, clearly, you have a TV here and all those cords and everything, but it's a bombardment energy. It's almost feeling like short circuiting the way we think when we are just bombarded with all these different thoughts thrown at us 24/7. And sure, I definitely think it has to do with the current state of affairs and the news stories that keep coming up. But also, I think this is just in general. It could be even like speaking to the last week. Like things really could be amped up. We are now in Aries season. Everything feels a little more electric. And every week right now, there's so many different things to think about. But it could also just be in general the way our lives have evolved to being so confined to the news cycle, and not even like news like I mean, clearly this is so easy that this is about the news on TV, but also in our own lives. Our own lives are bombarded like that. We have appointments and meetings and schedules, and things change, and it's all very much like that. And we get into ruts with our thinking. All right. So I don't know in your world if this is talking about in general trying to navigate the era and the age and the time frame that we're in. You could be feeling very bombarded by the media and the news stories and the information that's coming in. And it also could be very personal to you in that you may be facing an issue. And I'm going from the base card here. It's the abundance card, but you could be facing a singular issue in your world. I mean, take the big broad out of it now. In terms of a singular situation, you could be facing something in your world that you've thought about it every possible way you can, and you keep overthinking it to the point that it becomes a very closed-minded, I don't know the answer. I keep trying to shove the thoughts into the same box over and over, and it isn't working. And you can keep adding to it. You can keep hooking up more to it with all the chords and everything, but until you actually like break out of that mindset, it isn't going to change. So in the past, this is what is coming. It could be talking about your money. It could be talking about relationships. It could be talking about how you get up to a different level. What do you do in a job, that you're just unhappy in? It really could be about anything like that. It could be about your own feelings about a situation. But it's the whole idea is that you can try if you want to and shove more worries, more fears, more what ifs into this same box. But as long as you're thinking within this box, um, it's really not gonna you're not gonna get anywhere because you're stuck in your own head. So that's kind of past. And the interference part of that is all of this thinking and all of these thoughts and things coming in, whether it's news stories or schedules, they could have been keeping you off track from really making forward progress in an area in your own life. Like if you have something that you really want to focus on, like your health, and you can't because you're just bombarded with duties and obligations and people needing stuff and all these other things in your schedule or all these other thoughts that you have, right? Say you really want to focus on your health, but you're constantly thinking about all the other stuff going on, and the health is you can't even make the big decisions that is going to get you ahead. um because they really are interfering thoughts. But I still think the box component is recognizing that all of those thoughts are just keeping your attention much like a TV would. And at some point, we need to turn it off. Now, I clearly just about did a whole reading on one card alone, but that's kind of past energy. Now, the way I'm looking at these cards is they're all minor arcana, so it could all just be happening right now. There's not so much of a past, present, future feel to this as this is kind of what's been going on. The center energy, which would be like currently, well, what does all that overthinking do in terms of distracting us and keeping our attention? And the 8 of Wands is here. This is normally, it's swiftness in this deck. And the 8 of Wands in the normal Rider-Waite Tarot does talk about things happening quickly. Usually it's communications or travel, like fast travel, like air travel, things like that. But lots of things happening quickly. It talks more about speed than it does stuff. So yes, things are moving swiftly. And it's another 8. So far we have 2 8s. All right. So good in a way because 8s are like they're fairly far along on a path to 10, but basically all that interference and we're moving very quickly. You can see where things are very distracting and they're moving too fast. What it can bring about is kind of a thing. It's almost like a panic, right? When you're distracted and your attention is being taken up and then things are moving very fast or you move too quickly because you just get all ramped up. It's a nervous system feel to those two cards to me, right? And in the near future, it's actually positive to me. The Two of Swords is a card of indecision. It's not wanting to make a decision or not having enough information to make a decision. Um, and this is an interesting way that they have depicted this card. When you are distracted and when you are moving too fast, it's really hard to make a decision. Your brain doesn't even have time to slow down and just focus, right? You can't weigh the options. You can't even see the options because it's too much going on and we're moving way too fast. And I know all of us in today's world have felt that, right? We can't even think about what to make for dinner because the schedule's been crazy. There's been too many things going on. We have to get it done by this time and everything's moving super fast. We can't even like stop and make a decision. And so this energy is kind of feeling like this. Now, I think what's so strange is because this is near future, but it also gives you a prescription or of what could help. And the Two of Swords here is being depicted as two swords, right? Crossed down, and they are being fenced in. That fence even has barbed wire around the top. So to me, that talks about boundaries. I've read this card today a couple of different times. It's come up. So I don't know what in the world kind of decision you might be needing to make. It's probably a larger one about your happiness or your growth or where you're going to go from here. That kind of energy hits in the spring, and we are in Aries season where we want changes, but we can't even slow down and focus long enough to know even what we want. But here, when you can wall yourself off, this just speaks to boundaries to me, especially right now. I've read it a couple of different ways today, but the fence to me is like, in order to be able to make a decision, you may need to create boundaries for yourself, right? You need to focus on your little corner of the world. And it could be this summer. It could speak to getting out in the sun. The sun is very prominent here. And whenever I see the sun come up, it talks about vitality and happiness and joy. There's really no bad meaning ever to sun energy or metaphors in tarot. It talks about illumination. To be able to see clearly, you need to maybe set boundaries so that you actually have time to think. And that is what, have you ever had one of those times where you really did need to make a decision and you just need to be left alone for a little bit? This is telling everyone to go away for a little bit so that you can think about what's going to make you happy, so that you can focus on your health. You can, feel the sun in your face. This may have something to do with later this summer because sun energy is Leo season or Leo energy. Um, Maybe you have to decide on what to put out there. It's visibility and clarity. But in order to get clear on something, I think what's coming up will be the need for you to set some kind of boundaries. Could be with yourself, like how much media you consume, how many distractions you allow in. It's about slowing down, staying home. It could be, some of you could be thinking about vacations this summer, and you might choose to stay home in your own backyard and um, give yourself time to calm down and think through some things. I feel like this is all about clearing away that interference, slow down from moving so quickly in order to make some kind of decision that could be on the horizon. Now, the card about the hidden influence, well, the card that comes underneath all of this is the Three of Cups card. And in this deck, it's called the Abundance card. It's weird because abundance we would normally like quickly associate with like money, like that kind of abundance. We think material abundance, but this is a cups card. And so cups are about our emotional state. The Three of Cups is typically a card of reconnecting with, getting together with your friends, small gatherings, parties. If there's someone, it could be like family reunions or friend reunions of some kind. So it is a very celebratory energy, but it's also the feeling of abundance. And so I don't know in terms of what decision you might make around there. Some of you may need to be deciding on what to do. There may be parties in July, there may be vacations in July that you are thinking about, gatherings, that kind of thing, because July is coming up again because of the fireworks in the back. So I have the sun card for Leo season and the fireworks. So in a specific way, it could be that. But mainly it's slowing down so that you can think straight and you can reflect on exactly how abundant your own life is. It could be something just like that. Our world is very panicky. It's very fast. It's throwing a lot of information. We are very distracted from the things we feel like abundant in. So if you have friendships that you have been too busy for, I see this being a time frame where you set some boundaries so that you can actually find time in your schedule to reconnect with people, right? Because that's where our true feeling of abundance is generally. It's not usually about wealth, but here it's getting back in touch with that feeling again, the good feeling, emotionally speaking, emotionally abundant. I know that's a little bit confusing, but it does seem to fit. These are all kind of minor cards right now. So the advice card overall is the Ace of Cups. And I really love this. It does speak to that Three of Cups card also. This card is so interesting to me because the Ace of Cups is usually a new emotional opportunity. And as advice, it is saying, this is my biggest like self-love card. to that one I think what this is saying is this is a gift you could give yourself. Now, the part of it that makes me think that the abundance could be speaking to your money also is the fountain itself is concrete, right? And that is a the that really is representative of the material realm. The material realm are things that are solid and grounded and real and material, and so you have this concrete fountain, but what's pouring over the fountain is emotion. It's water. And so above it you have this angel who is actually like the temperance angel in the tarot deck. And the temperance angel is all about patience and grace and balancing work life things. Balance your emotional and your material world and have patience with that. There needs to be like moderation, and so she's showing up there. The temperance angel is showing up there. And in normal, the Rider Waite tarot deck, the temperance angel has one toe in the water and one toe on land. Like she's on both. So this is like this balance, work-life balance. Your emotions may need to get under control to some degree. I want to say this has a lot to do with it won't matter how much money, it won't matter how much work you do. That's not really where the abundant feeling is going to come from. So if you are really out of whack right now in any way that you feel like you're moving too fast and it's all life is all just stress, especially. I feel so much anxiety and stress and pressure. That boundaries, take some time. Take some time to have fun with your friends, to enjoy your own backyard, to regain that the life part of the work-life balance. I hope that makes sense. That's a long way of talking about it, but I did kind of want to go through the cards because they are interesting. And I think that if there has been any kind of trying to build happiness or the feeling of abundance on what you have and what you possess, I think this is one of those moments to get to capture a little bit of balance. Look for the opportunities to find emotional satisfaction. That is certainly going to add to your life right now. So if you're feeling broke, really try to find those places where you enjoy the simpler life. Like bring life back in again. All right. So I hope that helps. I know that was kind of wordy, but I just wanted to, I was kind of unprepared to do a public video today, but um anyway, I will be coming back from time to time. I would like to get this channel started on a regular basis. I have so much other stuff going on right now that this probably isn't going to be super regular until June onward, hopefully. So anyway, hit me up if you have any good thoughts about this. I'll talk to you later.